History and events are easily made and not so easily taken back or undone. In fact, it is almost impossible to undo events. Once an event has happened, sometimes there's no turning back, as they say. It's already happened. And you're just stuck with the outcome sometimes. But not for me. I'm one of the very few, very fortunate people to have been able to fix things, rewrite them, redo them from the very beginning, all the way up. I can change and modify and adjust things quite a bit in the past. Of course, I had 5 or 6 life form types that were very much bound to me. Well, I controlled them. Literally. Individually controlled their bodies. I like to do everything myself anyway, and they would go into harm's way a lot. Like I said, electronics doesn't really do any good for certain situations. Like I say, radiation is far too extreme. And biologicals actually have a better chance to... A shielded biological, more commonly known as an exoskeleton, can go into situations and places that most can't. Like I say, there are ways to adjust the biologicals better to make them more... They're a lot better than... They can deal with some environments better than electronics can, which are very sensitively damaged. Well, you can use some heavy electronics. You just got to go old school with it, really. You know, the big, heavy everything. Big wires, big everything. Big is better sometimes, especially when dealing with radiation. Like I say, that's one of the things that a lot of these children are doing wrong. Whenever they make a robot for radiation cleanup, they go small with everything. They're using small electronics, small receivers. No. You have to go big with this stuff. Small, see, because like I say, a radioactive source is giving off trillions of little particles. And literally they're eating away. Big. So a little teeny little circuit board with little bitty little things, all those trillions of microns, or all those trillions of whatever, neutrons, are going out from the source constantly. So it hits those little things and goes... And a break in electronics, it doesn't have to be very big. Even a few molecules. Literally, if you took a circuit board after it's been around a radioactive source, because nothing stops neutrons. They're very hard. They're very small. So when a radioactive source, like whatever, it's giving off neutrons, it's giving off a specific particle. Like I said, if you use a huge gravitational pull, you can actually grab those neutrons, and you actually get a whole bunch of neutrons. Like I say, it gives off particles. Well, it gives off lots of particles, basically. So when your devices or whatever, when you're trying to use it around a radioactive source, you know, and you have a wire, those wires are actually getting pitted. Because it goes through the casing. Lead stops it somewhat, I think. It slows it down or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But basically, some particles that it's giving off go... And it's like getting sandblasted by particles, like... And every time one of those particles touches you, bink! That's it goes, bink! Or whatever, it either deflects, it deflects, I think. So when it comes in contact with one of your particles, bink! And one of your particles go, off. Yee! And And I think a particle is left behind. I don't know if all of it goes bink, but basically when it touches one of your particles, it'll go bink and it goes. So it has the same effect on a biological, but biological uses bigger everything. So literally, when you're around some radiation sources, like it's going through your brain too. It goes through everything, basically. Even lead, possibly. Probably. Some particles go through lead, like they're nothing. Like I said, it's funny. For some strange reason, dense hardwood and steel. If you put up a dense hardwood, if you're doing radiation stuff, what you want is a solid steel plate that's pretty thick, and then you want dense hardwood that's really thick or something like that. For some reason, so like the denser the hardwood, the better. Basically, dense hardwood stops other particles. You can actually, if you were able to take steel and wood, you'd see some particles staying inside the steel, and some particles would stop inside the wood. So for all you kids out there, but some particles would stop by the wood, and they go, Some particles stop in there in the wood, and then stone. I think stone. Some particles stop in stone. I think what it is, the more different types, because something structure is basically like steel. Well, it's a bunch of little things. It's a bunch of different particles all together. So it stops most, I think, or something like that. And lead stops some, but it's all, it's particle type, particle density, how thick the particles are. Because, like I say, it's not really all that thick. It just looks solid and thick. And that's one of the things that we're trying to figure out with the solid laser. The laser and the spinning mirror. You just take a mirror and spin it really fast on an angle, as fast as you can, really fast, and then you shine a light at it. Because the thing is that light, like theoretically particles or light, the question was that I was wondering about was, does the glass reflect the light, or is it the backing on the light, on the glass that's reflecting the light? And the particles go through the glass to contact that other object and then reflect. And that's a reflection, or whatever. What we were looking at was basically the mirror spinning, because theoretically the glass, we're spinning the particles. So when the laser is coming down, when the light rays are coming down, they're coming down like this. It has to do with how the light rays are given off, but the particles are coming down like this, because light is a particle. It's actually not a wave. Like I say, light is never a wave, actually. Where you think it's a wave is actually no, it's actually too small. See, when you think it's a particle, that's actually two particles. It's actually contacted something. Like I say, they took at the thing, they took a look at the thing, and the thing is that it's moving so fast it moves through. So when you're actually getting dot holes in something, that's actually two particles that are putting dot holes, or multiple particles. See, as you make light or whatever, light is a particle. So as it's coming along, it's contacting other little things. Bing, bing. It's contacting those other particles. At least I think that's the way it was. Well, I mean, everything's a particle, basically. Multiple particle makeups makes objects. Billions of particles. Anyway, though, as the particle is coming along, and that's another thing I knew. Well, I mean, I made the particles, so I just didn't understand. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, as it's coming along, when it hits that object, bing, you can see that it's a particle. You can see, or whatever, but that you can see it because there's two or multiple particles moving all at the same time. It's finally measurable. But when you think it's a wave, what it really is, it's still a particle. It's just that it hasn't contacted anything and you can't read it. Anyway, they were saying it moves around or something like that. That might be it contacting other particles. It might bounce or something like that. But basically, it's never a wave. It's always a particle. It's just that it's a really, really, really super, super, super light particle. Like really super light particle. I think it's maybe one of the slower moving particles.